Hi, back again for Searching Sabbath, this week to talk about a concept called stewardship. This is number 21 in the Seventh-day Adventist 28 fundamental beliefs that I've been working my way through. And this particular teaching says we are God's stewards, entrusted by Him with time and opportunities, abilities and possessions, and the blessings of the earth and its resources. We are responsible to Him for their proper use. We acknowledge God's ownership by faithful service to Him and our fellow man, and by returning tithes and giving offerings for the proclamation of His gospel and the support and growth of His church. Stewardship is a privilege given to us by God for nurture in love and victory over selfishness and covetousness. The steward rejoices in the blessings that come to others as a result of his faithfulness. I'm pretty happy with that teaching. I think in layman's language, layperson's language, what it says is that everything belongs to God, and we are just caretakers. It's not our own, and we can get deluded into thinking that we own all the stuff and all the time and all the resources, but in fact it's dangerous to think that way. If we recognize it as all belonging to God and us as caretaking it for Him, it's a much better, healthier, and more balanced way to live. Of course, this is often the case with churches. Adventists tend to sort of, I think, maybe over-focus on the money aspect of this, and certainly the best known element of this within Adventist teaching is that, like many Christian denominations, we are believers in tithing, a concept which comes to us from God's instructions to Israel in the Old Testament, giving 1/10 of our income or increase to God. In practical terms within Adventism, this means it gets given to the church, and it is what is used to pay for essentially the running of the church. Offerings are expected over and above that. I find that giving 10% of your income to God is kind of like giving 1 day out of 7 as a Sabbath. If you come to it kind of out of the blue, it seems like an awful lot. But if you do it for a long time as a practice, it seems so natural and such a sensible way of reminding yourself that, hey, not everything is mine, that it really makes good sense to me. I understand that anything to do with the sort of confluence of religion and money is open to being abused. I know some Adventists and former Adventists are very uncomfortable with the idea of tithe as something we pay to the church, because same way many people feel about the way the government spends their tax dollars. They feel, I'm turning over this money and I don't necessarily agree with all the ways it's being used or all the things that it's being used for. I can understand that that's a valid concern some people have. I also know that there are other people not connected with ours or any church who still believe in this basic principle of tithing and who use it to give 10% of their income to a charity of their choice. I believe that's a good thing. I think any sort of tithing, any sort of giving on any kind of a planned system is a really good way of reminding yourself, as I said, it's not all your stuff. All the resources belong to God. But I also think if we focus stewardship only on tithing, that's very limiting. The concept of stewardship is so much bigger than that. There's a little section in here in this chapter on stewardship of the earth, which I'm really glad to see. It's tiny, and unfortunately the whole idea of humanity as stewards or caretakers of God's creation is not given as heavy a weight in Adventism and in many other churches as it should be. But it is very clearly taught in Scripture. I'm glad to note that this section here quotes one of my favorite texts that I like to, I guess I proof text a little bit with Christians who say that we don't need to be concerned about the environment, that when it talks about the second coming in Revelation 11:18, it says that Christ is coming back to destroy those who destroy the earth. So it would be hard to find a clearer statement than that of the fact that a Christian's responsibility is to steward all the resources that God has given, including the amazing resources of this earth that we too often abuse, rather than just assuming that I have a right to use and exploit everything and everyone. That we are stewards of the earth and of its resources, and to some extent in a way of each other. We have a responsibility to care for one another. I think is all kind of inherent in this idea of stewardship, and I guess that's kind of what I get out of it.